Hello and welcome to another edition of Foreign Dispatches, the program that takes you around the world in 25 minutes. I'm Amarachi Ubani. On the program this week, Israel and Iran trade fire again, sending civilians back into shelters. Plus, disorder erupts in Belfast after a serious knife attack. For the first time since the latest ceasefire, Israel and Iran have exchanged fire again. With sirens sounding across Israeli cities, the renewed escalation sent civilians back into shelters, forced hospitals to move critical patients underground, and added fresh pressure on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Sirens rang out across Jerusalem as explosions were heard overhead, with Israeli air defenses reportedly intercepting incoming Iranian missiles. The exchange marked the first major flare-up between Israel and Iran since the latest ceasefire, with Tehran saying its missiles were launched in response to Israeli strikes on Beirut. Israel, meanwhile, carried out its own response despite a call from US President Donald Trump for both sides to stand down. And in Ramat Gan, doctors at Sheba Medical Center began moving vulnerable patients into a fortified underground hospital. Officials say the reinforced complex allows medical teams to continue treating intensive care, neonatal and other high-risk patients while reducing their exposure to possible missile attacks.
Unfortunately, we are in another round of conflict with Iran, and we need to methodically bring down all of the patients down here for their protection. Some units are staying above ground, but the critically ill patients that cannot mobilize themselves, that cannot move to the shelter, are being brought down to here.
Sheba Medical Center, Israel's largest hospital, has previously moved critical departments to protected underground facilities during earlier rounds of fighting. At the same time, in Jerusalem, demonstrators marched in a weekly protest against his government, holding placards, beating drums, and calling for elections. Some accuse Netanyahu of deepening conflicts in Gaza, Lebanon, and Iran.
The use of power and more war in order to change the situation has never worked, and didn't work in Gaza, did not work in Lebanon, and it's not going to work with Iran. I think that they're going to create an agreement which is going to be more or less similar to the agreement that Obama had, and not really going to change the situation. We could have avoided the war, all the ruins, all the people killed here, there, and this whole war with Iran was a mistake from the beginning till the end.
A similar anti-war demonstration was also held at Habima Square in Tel Aviv as protesters demanded a political change and a different path forward.
From Israel, we turn to Northern Ireland, where tensions have spilled onto the streets of Belfast following a serious knife attack. A Sudanese man has been charged with attempted murder, while political leaders appeal for calm amid fears of anti-immigration unrest.
The streets of Belfast burned overnight as protests over a serious knife attack descended into disorder. Elsewhere in Northern Ireland, a police car was set on fire in Portadown as officers and political leaders appealed for calm. The unrest followed Monday's knife attack in North Belfast, which left a man in his 40s with serious injuries to his eyes, face and back.
I was not able to take my son to school because I don't know if we'll be able to reach the school. So we are locked in the house with my wife and my 3 children. we don't know how to come out.
Police say a 30-year-old Sudanese man has been charged with attempted murder, possession of a bladed article in a public place, and making threats to kill. Officers say there is currently no evidence that the attack was terrorism-related.
It's still the early stages of the investigation, and if that changes, we will update you. Now, this vile attack has sent shockwaves throughout all of our communities. I want to reassure all of them that your safety is our absolute priority, and we're engaged with those communities, with residents and with our political parties and leaders to provide reassurance and support. There will be an increased police presence across Northern Ireland this evening and in the coming days to provide help, support and reassurance for all our communities and to keep everybody safe.
We reflect where we know people are, because I think people are feeling fearful, people are feeling angry, people are feeling a bag of emotions about what they have witnessed over the course of yesterday evening and into this morning. But my message today is one of calm, and don't allow those people that don't care about people here to incite hatred, to incite fear. Don't allow those people who are faceless to orchestrate campaigns and on the streets. I think that is something that I would want to underline from today's press conference.
Graphic footage of the assault circulated widely online, sparking shock and anger. Police and political leaders have urged people not to share the video and to allow the justice process to take its course.
There is considerable posting on social media. I appeal for everyone to be mindful of what they view and share online. Sharing footage risks causing further trauma to the injured man's family and loved ones, and may impact on this investigation. We are aware, of course, of protest activity being discussed across Northern Ireland this evening, and we continue to monitor this very carefully. And I understand that last night's attempted murder will leave people feeling enraged with emotions from fear to anger. But please, please, let the PSNI, let the police do their job.
In London, protesters also gathered outside Parliament, where police were deployed as demonstrators argued with counter-protesters. The disorder comes amid heightened tensions over asylum and migration across the UK and follows previous unrest around accommodation for migrants and asylum seekers.
The attempted murder in Belfast last night was chilling. What has been seen by thousands already across the country cannot be unseen. It was medieval. The systematic mutilation and attempted slaughter of a citizen of Belfast on our streets. That community cohesion lies on the precipice. Will he confirm that the actions last night in no way reflect or represent the values of our nation? That the victim belongs in Belfast, but the attacker does not? Having abused the privilege of our nation, the perpetrator living in the UK under a 5-year visa needs to be convicted and deported on the first flight out on a one-way ticket.
Well, I would say to the right honourable gentleman, first of all, the footage that many people have seen is indeed truly horrifying. On his last point, as he will be well aware, any foreign national who abuses the hospitality of this country to commit crime should be in no doubt of our determination to deport them. We need to allow the criminal justice process to take place. On his question about net migration, as he will know, it is now down 82% from the peak reached under the previous government. But I would most particularly echo what he has said in appealing for calm.
Police say their focus remains on the criminal investigation into the Belfast attack and preventing further violence on the streets.
A group of Malawian nationals have returned home from South Africa as fears of xenophobic violence continue to spread. The returnees had sought shelter after reports of intimidation and attacks, while President Cyril Ramaphosa warns citizens not to take the law into their own hands.
Relief, uncertainty, and exhaustion as Malawian nationals arrive back home after fleeing rising tensions in South Africa. Malawi's government says 171 people were brought back in the first group under a voluntary repatriation exercise. They include men, women, and children who had sought refuge in temporary camps in South Africa's Western Cape. The repatriation follows reports of violence and intimidation in areas including Mossel Bay, where foreign nationals say they were forced to flee after threats and attacks.
The
situation worsened when they started conducting night operations to burn the houses of foreigners. That's when we fled and sought refuge in a hall, where we stayed for a week and a half.
Malawian officials say the situation in South Africa is worrying and have urged citizens who feel unsafe to return home.
The plan is that immediately after this, we are sending a team and buses to also get them. I know the numbers may not be enough, but that's why, as government, we do our part. But also we still appeal to other organizations, companies, even individuals, banks, to support us so that we repatriate all our people, because these are our people. We need their lives. We need their support. We need them to develop the country. So we want them to be here in Malawi.
More buses are expected to bring back additional evacuees, with officials saying thousands of Malawians may return by the end of the month. Other African countries, including Nigeria, Ghana, and Zimbabwe, have also arranged repatriation flights and transport for citizens affected by the unrest. Others like Kenya, Malawi, Lesotho, and Zimbabwe have urged their citizens in South Africa to exercise caution.
As an African, we're supposed to be together, to be together. There's a human being, not just African, all over the world. So, in any country in the world, there's always foreigner somewhere in the country.
Anti-migrant groups have demanded that undocumented foreigners leave the country by the end of June. The pressure has added to existing tensions in a country facing high unemployment and growing frustration over public services jobs and crime.
We must all respect the constitution of our country.
But President Cyril Ramaphosa says migration concerns must be handled lawfully, not through intimidation or violence.
As we work to tackle the problem of illegal immigration, we are determined that we will not allow anyone to exploit this problem to destabilize our country. Our law enforcement agencies and security services, working together with other state entities and key stakeholders, are ready to act to protect the Republic, public safety, maintain law and order, and safeguard critical infrastructure. The challenges we have recently introduced to our immigration laws, the changes that we have recently introduced to our immigration laws, as well as the regulations that we've introduced, will allow us to attract tourists, highly skilled global talent, and investment through lawful channels. We must also remember that many of our people travel to other countries to study, to work, and to gain experience. Many come home with valuable skills and expertise that they have gained from other countries, with a wider view of the world and in a better position to improve their lives and those of their families and increase the prosperity of our country. Migration is the way of the world, and we must be prepared to embrace it.
The president has announced new measures to address illegal migration, including tougher penalties for employers who hire undocumented workers, special courts to speed up deportations, and the use of biometric data to combat identity fraud.
In Kenya, protests against a proposed US-backed Ebola quarantine facility have escalated in Nanyuki, with demonstrators clashing with police. The planned 50-bed center intended for Americans exposed to Ebola has triggered fear, public anger, and legal challenges.
In Nanyuki, anger over a proposed Ebola quarantine facility has once again spilled onto the streets. Hundreds of protesters marched through the town, waving placards, blocking roads, and confronting riot police who fired tear gas to disperse the crowd. The protests center on a planned US-backed isolation unit at Laikipia Air Base intended to hold American personnel exposed to Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda. Kenya has not reported any Ebola cases, and many residents say the facility would put local communities at risk.
We are here to make sure that we are protesting for the Ebola quarantine, because it will affect us. Look how we are today here. We all look dead because we don't know what's going to happen next. And we are fighting for our country.
Some activists were arrested, while local reports said at least one person was killed during the latest demonstration. Businesses in parts of Nanyuki shut down as the protests spread, with demonstrators accusing the government of making the agreement without listening to the public.
And we are saying no to quarantine, no to Ebola. We won't accept Ebola in our place. Hatutakubali. This is our right, this is our land, and we have nowhere else to go.
The proposed 50-bed center is reportedly funded with about $13 million in U.S. aid and would be used to monitor asymptomatic U.S. citizens, including health workers, diplomats, and military personnel. But critics say Kenya is being asked to carry the risk of a facility designed mainly for foreign nationals.
We have seen tanks and police cannons being deployed to silence civilians and stop their voices from being heard. The president should remember that citizens put him in that position, and he should speak with them.
Earlier protests also turned deadly, with reports that 2 people were shot during demonstrations after a U.S. military transport aircraft arrived in the area. President William Ruto has defended the plan, saying it is part of a long-standing health partnership with the United States and would strengthen Kenya's preparedness.
One of the facilities that has now raised a bit of controversy is the facility we agreed to set up in conjunction with the Americans in one of our military air bases. And why have we done that? We have a huge American military contingent in Kenya, number one. Number two, we have set up the 23 other isolation places in Kenya with the support of friends, among them the Americans, our own resources, but also with the support of Americans. The American government has supported us in this Ebola setup infrastructure, health infrastructure, to the tune of 1.8 billion Kenya shillings. And they did make a request to us to, in the process of setting up all the other facilities, to also set up one where they can use in the event that their citizens, their soldiers, some of them in Kenya or from elsewhere, if they are in a situation, then they can use that facility. For context again, even if the Americans had not set up that facility at the military base, if there was any American in Kenya, we would take them to a Kenyan facility. We would not throw them out because the Constitution of Kenya tells us that we are responsible for the health of the citizens of Kenya, including those who are in Kenya at any one time.
The dispute is now before the courts. Kenya's High Court has halted the facility's establishment and ordered the government to disclose agreements, protocols, and risk assessments linked to the project.
In Senegal, environmental activists are warning that a major redevelopment plan could threaten the country's famous Pink Lake. Campaigners say the Green City project could damage protective sand dunes, increase flood risks, and disrupt tourism livelihoods.
Around Senegal's famous Pink Lake, volunteers are cleaning up a landscape they say is now under threat. Known locally as Lac Rose, the lake has long drawn visitors for its unusual color, salt production, and surrounding coastal scenery. But a major public-private redevelopment plan has triggered concern among environmental activists and small tourism operators. The Green City project is expected to cover more than 200 hectares near the lake, with plans for thousands of housing units, renewable energy facilities, and civic infrastructure. Supporters say it could help ease pressure on Dakar's growing population. But campaigners fear the cost to the environment could be too high.
This project is truly a disaster that risks disfiguring Lac Rose. It means they are going to level the sand dunes, the dunes that formed naturally along with the strip of casuarina trees planted to protect Lac Rose and the entire coastline.
Activists say the dunes and trees form a natural barrier, helping protect the lake and nearby communities from coastal erosion and flooding. They warn that heavy construction could weaken that protection and permanently alter the area's delicate ecosystem. For local tourism operators, the concern is also economic. Small businesses around Lac Rose depend on visitors, and many fear the project could change the character of the area that brings people there in the first place.
This project does not suit us. We only have the Pink Lake. This is where we earn our living to support our families.
The Green City project has been promoted as a smart, eco-friendly urban development with up to 18,000 housing units and infrastructure designed to support renewable energy. But opponents say a development cannot be called green if it destroys the natural systems that already protect the coastline.
And finally, in Syria's Aleppo, a group of women is reviving the traditional art of natural stone mosaic. Through a modern workshop project, they are turning the centuries-old craft into small decorative pieces that blend heritage with contemporary design.
In a workshop in Aleppo, small pieces of stone are being shaped into something much larger than decoration. These women are reviving the traditional art of natural stone mosaic, carefully arranging colored stones into modern designs that still carry the memory of an old craft. The project, called Armagan, was founded by visual artist Asma Mahbouk, who says the aim is to bring back an art form that was slowly disappearing.
Armagan's goal is to contribute to reviving the art of mosaic in a modern way because it had faded away. In 2018, we wanted to bring it back.
Natural stone mosaic is one of the region's oldest decorative crafts. Aleppo was once known for its intricate designs on walls, floors, and architectural surfaces. But years of conflict, economic hardship, rising costs, and weaker demand have pushed many traditional crafts to the margins. For the women involved, the work is not only about preserving heritage, it is also about building skills and creating a sustainable source of income. But the project has faced obstacles. Finding suitable raw materials was difficult at first, as the stones arrived in sizes that were too thick and hard to work with.
The real challenge we face is not selling our products, but the lack of market demand due to the current situation and the absence of tourists.
That absence of tourists has left many heritage businesses struggling, especially in a city where traditional arts once depended on visitors, collectors, and a thriving local market. Still, in this Aleppo workshop, every stone placed by hand is part of a wider effort to protect memory, restore pride, and show that even a fading craft can find a new life when it is passed on to another generation.
And that's the program today. Remember, you can catch all our top stories and more on channelstv.com. Thank you for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Bye for now.